Hi Josh, just checking in with the update on the paddles. They work as 99% of them work, which is with flicker. But I used a, so see that? See how it's moving? So it moves, so if I move it to the left, it's to the left. If I move it, sorry, if I move it to the right, I don't know my left from my right. As you can see, the orange thing, sprite, whatever you want to call, whatever that's supposed to be. Actually, that's supposed to be a tennis racket. Because breakout's also based upon tennis, but actually no, it's based upon squash because you're playing up against a wall. Never thought about that. But yeah, that seems quite obvious as soon as I examine it as a sport. So what you tend to have to do is you tend to have to hold the wheel, and then you can almost move it left and right. You still get judder or jutter or flicker. It's like tomato. But as you can see, even look how sensitive it is. That's not just dust. That's just the type of technology that they used. It's like a hypersensitive pad. So that's why these went down like a ton of shit, to be honest. Just bad design. There's another company that made these called Gemini, which was actually an Atari 2600 official clone licensed by ColecoVision. Those paddles are slightly better, but they're really hard to find. So you can have these for free. I'm not going to charge you for something that's going to frustrate you, but this would have been how it was. In a way, it's authentic. This was the struggle. The struggle was real. So this is why people used to swing these around as weapons as kids, because they just became this kind of like novelty, because you'd either forget what game they were for. Video Olympics, which is the PAL version of Pong, they're quite thin on the ground, so the only paddle games that most people were aware of was Kaboom and Breakout and Super Breakout, those three. The other ones, Street Racer and Night Driver, which I think is about 1980, which is really cool. I might show you that in a minute. So push reset. So I pushed fire to serve. So the ball's moving, as you can see, the bits of the wall coming off. But look, so you push 5, that's how I know the fire button works, because it's serving the ball. But yeah, it's all over. See, that's what used to happen. That's why they used to get damaged, because you just get so pissed off you end up smashing it to bits. So I should probably move that off the top. But right, see, you can play a bit of accidental breakout. Maybe I'll try and find it. If I can find a paddle game you can use. I know you want to keep the original boxes, so that you've got a paddle game just for funsies, or if you really like being frustrated, and maybe you could have a competition. Which of you can get the highest score with a haunted controller? See, what have I got? 3. So yeah, it's just so frustrating. It's unbelievable. And you'd think if it was just that, look, so I've just popped the top off, so it's inside here, and even if you take that apart, and you can try switch cleaner, WD-40, anything. So I scored 4. So that's indicative. So let's have a look at the game select. I like that. So it's like, okay, you can increase your, oh wow. Oh, so this must be like a 2-player. Let's see how the other paddle works. Let's see if the other paddle works. Yeah, so the other one works a little bit better. So you could argue over who's going to get the, see that? That's working quite smoothly. Like, so now I'm moving left and right, and it's actually smooth and accurate. So if you were playing a game like Pong, you could be a gentleman and you could play with the really shitty controller, or just switch them over behind your back and you can exchange the disadvantage of an already disadvantaged controller. So this is Breakout. As you can see, it's quite vivid, the colours on here, but this is you know how digital television, it's kind of cool because it's quite neon, these colours, but it's not very natural. It's good that it works and displays the console, because it's got an analog tuner at least. So let's try another game. So that was Breakout. And by the way, the cartridge is going a lot easier than I thought. So in my original video, I hadn't actually put the Atari fully back together, so the bezel hadn't been completely aligned, which has a steel inner casing. So they go in really nice and smoothly. I do remember some games you have to wiggle them, but I was over wiggling considering I hadn't put the console back together. So right, that's Breakout. So this is a game called Street Racer, which has pretty cool artwork. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and zoom in on it. again, like I talked about, more illustrative. So these were hand drawn in the late 70s before digital processes. So this is Street Racer. I don't get to play paddles much. This is quite fun. So another reason why it's really primitive. So you've got 2 lanes. Right, so I'm just trying this 2-second controller, which is operating the yellow car on the right hand side. So let's see if what happens. So this must be a 2-player. So you're dodging cars. That's terrible. Look, so when you crash, you just turn into a mush of pixels. Let's turn the volume up. I kind of like my ADHD's liking the colours of this. Okay, so I'm on the right hand side and I'm in this yellow car. And actually this is interesting because this paddle works fine. So on certain games, you'll be able to play 1-player games without a problem. Because here, firstly, you've got a larger sprite. So the flicker's not affecting the sprite as much. So depending on how many pixels actually make up the sprite depends on how much flicker you get, which is incredibly technical. So because you've got such a huge sprite, you're visibly not getting as much flicker. This is the superior paddle, but it's perfectly playable. And if you hold down, that's accelerate. So that's why. Can you see how fast the cars are going? And you've got no time to dodge them. So when you crash, it looks like you're ET a little bit. Look. Jesus Christ. So this is, I don't have epilepsy, but I sometimes have seizures from sensory overload. So I'll be careful playing this because this is definitely sensory overload feel. Jesus, really, it's like dodging falling cars more than driving, because you've got no sense of scrolling, and you've got the illusion of scrolling, which is the cars descending vertically down from the top. So look, I'm managing to dodge cars. 29, 30. Let's try 2. Yes, okay. So now I've put in 2-player. I'm now the pink, and that's working okay. A little bit. Can you see how it's flickering more? So now I'm on the left-hand side as the pink car. Jesus. Yeah, so paddles I will include, Josh. So you can have frustrating 2-player game, and I'll find a paddle game. Let me know. I'll have a look what I've got a duplicate of. Yeah, and also because they only go to a certain point, they were prone to snap as well because they don't fully rotate. There's another controller that looks like this called a driving controller for one game, called Indy 500, which are very rare. I might have a set of those, but I'm not selling those at the moment, so it just takes too long to find. But you should be able to pick them up for about maybe £25 with the game Indy 500, possibly a bit less if you're sharp and keep an eye on eBay. But they always work. They don't flicker. So Indy 500 driving controllers I highly recommend, so you can play Indy 500 and then you can race together without this frustration. If I can either sell you one of these, I'd recommend maybe this one because it's easier to play and you can play it both together, and because you're only using a part of the screen and the size of the pixel, you're not noticing the flicker as much, where like I said, on games with a smaller sprite, the actual sprite is visibly more animated in its flickering. That was Street Racer, really cool. This is a PAL version, which is quite hard to find. You do need to get PAL games, despite sellers lying and saying that the Atari games are region free. They're not. They work, but they display the wrong colours. Some of them will display in black and white, and some of them won't display at all. But also most of them roll out, which means roll out is a term to do with the scan lines per second. So PAL, in games that are in PAL, are 50 hertz, and in the American format for NTSC is 60 hertz. So there's 16% difference scan lines per second between PAL and NTSC, and that actually causes a real-time animation delay in terms of the scan lines per second as the game's running, which causes rollout. So if you're playing a game as intended actually, which is 60 hertz on a 50 hertz PAL computer, you'll get problems with flicker and rollout. Occasionally I'm getting flicker. That's to do with having lots of stuff around my computer. I wouldn't usually, well, I actually do set up for testing here on a cooker top, but I wouldn't recommend it. I've got it next to a kettle, an old analog black and white television, a pile of magnetic parts. So yeah, when you get the occasional flicker, that's not uncommon. Even if you're using a CRTV, it was like that in the 80s. You know, if you had a VHS next to it, you'd get interference. So I'm just going to quickly show you this game, Hero. It took me a year to get a boxed version of this, which is valued at around about £100. The boxed version with the colour label, which is by Activision, who made some of the best games. And this is Hero. Yep, I've been talking for 19 minutes. I'm less lethargic today. So this is a great game. My friend had this when we grew up, and I was absolutely so jealous of him. I was happy for him, but the jealousy was pretty evident. So as you can, oh shit. Okay, right. So muscle memory is not working. So look how nicely the character's animated. So the idea is you bomb yourself through walls. You can even like fly up like this. Can you see that? Now coming back to me now. Yeah, and so if you go down there, it's a trap. So I'm pretty sure you go this way. So it relies on memory, your own, which is mine isn't very good. Shit. Sorry for swearing. This game generally scares me. I think it's because it's the collision detection is really accurate. So you save human beings. Side of that wall. Goodbye wall. And the idea. Oh fuck! See, I turned that light off. See. I can't remember if it's left or right. Is it left again or is that a trap? I'm going to go left again. So it's a trap. Oh no, it's not. Yeah, so as you can tell, this is really cool. I mean, this game is 8K because it's got an internal ROM, but it's really nicely animated. I love the way the character is animated, even the propeller turns and the legs. So this is really cool. Yeah, I love this game. But it's gone through the roof, the value. So yeah, I don't like the way. See, it's in dark. I love all these details. The coding on this must have been crazy, difficult. But the guys that were at Activision were all taking acid, so had an advantage, creative advantage over Atari to create all sorts of coding tricks and techniques. I always die there. Oh, okay, so you can use your bomb as a temporary light and then get killed by a snake.